Good day, everyone. I am Abegail Bongol, the first presenter of this report. Welcome to the first lesson for Information Assurance Security, our group assigned to discuss all about the history of information assurance and on how this information being given and received. Let's proceed to the content of this discussion. We are going to talk about number 1, what is data? Number 2, what is information? Number 3, the difference between data and information. Number 4, what is information assurance? Number 5, the history of the field of information assurance. And number 6, the reflection. We will give some insights and realizations at the end of this discussion. Now, what is data? It comes from the Latin word datum, meaning something given. The term data is simply defined as facts and figures, and these facts and figures can be processed into different forms of information. Number 2, what is information? The word information comes from the Latin word informatio, meaning formation or conception. Information is defined simply as news or knowledge received or given. It is what results when you have processed, interpreted, or organized facts. Let's proceed to the difference between data and information. Data is a collection of facts, while information is how you understand those facts in content. Data is unorganized, while information is structured or organized. Data is a mass noun, and information is an accountable noun. To put it simply, data is a raw facts and information is the summarization of data. Information depends on data. Moving on, let's define what is information assurance. We already defined what is information. It is the summarization of data. Now, let's proceed to information assurance. But before that, what is assurance? Assurance is simply an act of assuring. Information assurance is the practice of assuring information and managing risk related to the use, processing, and transmission of information used for their purposes. Like for example, when we try to input the data in a computer and this data convert into a meaningful information, our information would be open for many threats, which can access, destroy, or misuse our data. Therefore, we have to make sure that the information we put are all secured and safe from cyber hacking or theft. And that's what information assurance security do in our computer system and networks. Okay, another example. How would you know if your house is secured? Simply by just having a lock from each doors and windows. Or maybe installing CCTVs each side of our house. Or even having a dog to guard and bark if there's an unsuspicious person roaming around our house. Similarly, in submitting a project, we want to assure that before we live in our house, we already have a copy of our project. But sometimes there are instances that our flash drive corrupted, and that is annoying. Therefore, we have to find alternative ways to have a backup copy to be prepared in these unexpected scenarios. This is relevant also in information technology on how we want to secure our information. Question: how can we protect our information? By simply knowing what is CIADA. CIADA stands for Confidentiality, Integrity, Availability, Non-Repudiation, and Authentication. Confidentiality is the assurance that the information is not disclosed to an authorized person. Example for this is assuring that the information is not getting linked to other. Like for example, the Facebook. Are you familiar with this game? Some of the game here can access information about you and your friends. Like if you try to play the soulmate searching, this can scan all the information that can predict that you and your Facebook friends can be a cellmate. Integrity, the protection against unauthorized modification. In every in every information we send to any servers, our platform should be protected from modification. Like for example, you will receive an email that you access a particular computer other than your devices, or we call it the double authentication. Availability, timely, reliable access to data and information services for authorized users. Example for this is the forgot password. We all know that the only way we can recover our certain account is either we have an email we signed up with that can receive an information to recover our account, or we can answer through a question. Non-repudiation, assurance that the sender is provided with proof of data delivery and recipient is provided with proof of the sender's identity so that neither can later deny having processed the data. Perfect example for this is the Electronic Data Interchange or EDI. This is a specific standard sent information about businesses on what to be sent out in processing a transaction. Like for example, if you want to create a website like Shopee or Lazada, you have to secure a certain certificate to process online transactions with secure and encrypted information of the receiver and the sender. Last is the authentication. Security measures to establish the validity of the transmission message or originator. This is the validity to checked. Like for example, the one who's logging in is the user.
What is information assurance? Information assurance is the technical discipline of data protection. Keeping information and its warehousing safe are a part of overall information security. Next, let's talk about evolution of information assurance. The complexity of modern information assurance techniques with homomorphic encryption, file binders, and secure multi-party computation can potentially overwhelm the most educated IA professional. And because techniques are constantly evolving and building on one another, it may be useful to understand some of their early components by focusing on the key developments in this dynamic industry, such as computer mainframes, data structures, the domain name system, internet viruses, and data encryption. IA professionals can broaden their perspective of information assurance and gain a better understanding of where the industry is headed. Next, example situation of information assurance. When you are logging in Facebook, Gmail, and other platforms, they assured you that your information are safe to them. Example is when someone is hacking your account, they are able to notify you if someone is trying to steal your account. The other example is to forget password in any platform the website protect your account and the admin is not allowed to take a look because it's the owner's rights to have that privacy. The only way to recover it is through the automation of recovery. Next, the key functions of information assurance. The purpose and function of information assurance can be broken down into three main categories. 1. Keeping information confidential. 2. Maintaining the integrity of stored data. 3. Making data readily available to those who need access to it. Of those three major functions, maintaining confidentiality of important data is often deemed the highest priority of information assurance. At its most essential core, information assurance means that only those who have permission will have access to the specific information that they have the authorization to access. Additionally, the information assurance is time sensitive, meaning that authorized figure will have access to data only when it is deemed necessary or allowed by the system in place. This is achieved in a number of ways but mainly with use of passwords and login names and other similar sign-in type methodologies. Next, I would like to add some key attributes of information assurance. Information assurance is the practice of making sure certain data or risks are managed appropriately through application, usage, storage, processing, and transmission. For example, Skype is a system that provides telephone and chat services. Security for Skype means the ongoing ability to provide their service while maintaining the following key attributes: C for confidentiality, I for integrity, A for availability, N for non-repudiation, A authentication.
Now, to sum it up, information assurance is all about getting the right information to the right people at the right time. Gathering and inputting an information is not the only thing to do when we are trying to use a computer. We also need to know where it is stored and how this information is being protected in a computer. That is why we're here to discuss to you how the information before was being protected. And, trivia time, did you know that there is a hacker attack in every 39 seconds? According to a Clark School study at the University of Maryland, is one of the first to quantify the near constant rate of hacker attacks on computers with internet access, in every 39 seconds on average, affecting 1 in 3 Americans in every year, and the non-secure usernames and passwords we use that give attackers more chance of success.
Moving on with the discussion, now let us talk about history of information security. Basically, computer security began immediately after the first mainframes were developed. When computer security was made, it was used by computers that were stored in a large and secured place. Computers back then had less memory and less RAM compared to our computers today. Physical controls limiting access to sensitive military locations to authorized personnel. Computer security were more focused on physical controls. This helps the computer security to ensure that no one has a unauthorized or unknown access to it, except for the person that has access to operate the computers. Also, one of the reasons why physical control were a priority is because mainframe computers back then were not networked. So, another mainframe cannot interact with another mainframe. Each mainframe were standalone back then and doesn't connect to any network. So, to access mainframes back then, a person must be physically present or the authorized person. This ensures that physical theft, espionage, and sabotage doesn't happen. Moving on. Key dates in information security. 1968. Maurice Wilkes discusses password security in time-sharing computer systems. Maurice talked about how password is being shared and how to ensure that computers can be used without sharing passwords. This has the ability for each simple user to have its own account and unique password. 1970. Willis H. Ware authored the report Security Controls for Computer Systems, Report of Defense Science Board Task Force on Computer Security, RAND R609, which was not declassified until 1979. It became known as the seminal work identifying the need for computer security. The DoD or Department of Defense of USA published the R609, which is considered as the first step in the wide world of information security, including securing the data, limiting random and unauthorized access to that data, and involving personnel from multiple levels of the organization in information security.
Another trivia. Did you know NASA computers stopped working for straight 21 days? The hacker behind this attack was a 15-year-old boy who also hacked the Pentagon. He is Jonathan James. Jonathan was federally prosecuted after hacking United States Department of Defense computers and became the first juvenile incarcerated for cybercrime in US.
1979. Dennis Ritchie publishes on the security of Unix and protection of data file contents, which discuss secure user IDs, secure group IDs, and the problems inherent in the systems. Dennis McAllister Ritchie was an American computer scientist. He created the C programming language and with longtime colleague Ken Thompson, the Unix operating system and B programming language. Unix is an operating system that was first developed in the 1960s and has been under constant development ever since. By operating system, we mean the suite of programs that make the computer work. It is a stable, multi-user, multitasking system for servers, desktop, and laptops. User groups. Users may be placed into groups within the Unix system to restrict access to sensitive information. For example, the accounting department users can be placed into one group that permits them to work only on accounting-related files and data. Anyone not assigned to the accounting user group would be unable to read or modify the accounting group's data. Users are placed into these groups as defined in the group file which resides in the directory. The set user ID. The set user ID bit can be inserted into the owner field of the protection mask to allow the user to assume all privileges of the file owner. To grant set user ID privileges, the letter S is placed in the fourth bit position instead of the letter X. The set group ID. The set group ID behaves the same way as the set user ID, but it allows the user to assume group permissions rather than owner permissions. To grant set group ID privileges, the letter S replaces the letter X in bit position 7 of the group field. Problem address. The Unix operating system was originally developed for use by programmers within an open systems environment. The adoption of Unix as a common operating system across several different platforms has increased the need for security beyond its original purpose. As a result, many Unix installations have less than optimal security. In addition, there are several versions of Unix on the market today with different security features, security concerns, and risk assessment. The system administrator should scan the password file regularly to look for anything unusual. Sound security practices state that user ID numbers and names should not be duplicated. If more than one user has the same ID number or name, individual user accountability is sacrificed. Null passwords should not be allowed. Null passwords allow users to log into an ID without a password. User ID should equal 0 only in special cases. Any user that has a user ID of 0 obtains root account or super user privileges. There should be only a limited number of users with root access. Users should not be placed in the system directory at startup time. Most users should be placed in a user directory or subdirectory and forced to work within a menu that prevents them from gaining access to the Unix operating system level commands. In addition, user groups should be employed to restrict access to projects or sensitive files. All unused accounts or accounts of terminated employees should be deleted. 1982. The U.S. Department of Defense Computer Security Evaluation Center publishes the first version of the Trusted Computer Security documents, which came to be known as the Rainbow Series. Graham and Morris write the Unix system Unix Operating System Security. In this report, the authors examined four important handles to computer security: physical control of premises and computer facilities, management commitment to security objectives, education of employees, and administrative procedures aimed at increasing security. Trusted Computer System Evaluation Criteria, or TCSEC, is a United States government Department of Defense standard that sets basic requirements for assessing the effectiveness of computer security controls built into a computer system. The, the TCSEC was used to evaluate, classify, and select computer systems being considered for the processing, storage, and retrieval of sensitive or classified information. Physical control of premises and computer facilities refers to the protection of building sites and equipment and all information and software contained therein from theft, vandalism, natural disaster, man-made catastrophes, and accidental damage. It requires solid building construction, suitable emergency preparedness, reliable power supplies, adequate climate control, and appropriate protection from intruders. Management commitment to security objectives aims to ensure that effective information security measures are taken at strategic, tactical, and operational levels. Information security is not a goal in itself. It aims to serve the interests of the business or organization. Education of employees. Training your employees about cybersecurity awareness allows them to understand how to play a role in protecting your company. Rather than being just another COG in the organization, they are the first set of eyes that are guard against external threats. Encouraging vigilance and good cybersecurity awareness is something that they can carry well beyond the confines of the office, even after things return to normal. Administrative procedures aim at increasing security. An effective security management process comprises six sub-processes: policy, awareness, access, monitoring, compliance, and strategy. Security management relies on policy to dictate organizational standards concerning security.
The next is 1984. File security and the Unix system crypt command was discussed and networking already exists. This resulting to access files within a computer system, which can also be protected not just at physical level, but a possibility of someone who's not physically present who wants to access documents within a computer system. Last is 1992. Researchers for the Internet Engineering Task Force working at the Naval Research Laboratory developed the Simple Internet Protocol Plus or ZIP security protocols, what is now known as IPsec security. Giving you an example, if you are inputting information such as financial transactions, medical records, and corporate communication, IPsec protect highly sensitive data you just inputted as it's transmitted across the network. The last part is the reflection. In general, importance of information assurance and security. Learning information assurance security is essential, especially today, since in this way, we can detect threats, we can prevent cyber attacks that can misuse our data, and we can protect our information from hackers that may alter to destroy and access our sensitive information. In this way, we become vigilant and prepare if there's any cyber hacking may happen in our computer system. Lastly, by learning information assurance security, we can establish more secure environment to the future software that we're going to develop. And these are the references we use for this topic. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and we hope you learned something. Have a nice day, everyone.